month. You may have seen last month in the newsletter that there was an article about essentially about this season. And we'll talk specifically about what I mean by this season, but basically in North America and around the world, there are many holidays and events from October through April in particular. And these events celebrate Thanksgiving, generosity, and giving and service are connected as well. These are actually opportunities for members to reflect on their appreciation of others and to act on the giving and service aspects of these holidays and events and their own traditions. It's really a prime opportunity for clubs to allow members some time to practice their research skills as well by investigating the local community to identify, opportunities for service, but also connected to not only the popular holidays, but also understanding how different groups of community members may celebrate their own cultures and religions related to holidays and kind of specific in specific cultures, and how giving and gratitude may be a part of these important events. So clubs can be great. Club members can be great explorers at this time. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and share some specifics. So before we get into some kind of specific events and holidays and ideas, service ideas, I'm wondering if any of you would like to share what your traditions are. Maybe what your traditions or your local community or your organization celebrates in this broad time between the fall, winter, and spring.
Okay, so how Luana knows I love to talk. So our K-Kids, and I'm assuming you're assuming the club traditions. So we do a parade of lights that we build a float for and take part in, because our Kiwanians actually they sponsor the main float that has Santa on it. So we like to put like a little float that goes in front of it, and we pick a different theme every year. So that's definitely been a tradition. COVID's kind of put a stop to that. And we get to go back this year. We help out with a local, they don't like to be called the soup kitchen, the community cafe. So we've made ornaments when it was kind of not virtual, but it was a drive-through. So we made ornaments for about 300 cars. And then we made some centerpieces to go to nursing homes. And then when they do on-site meals, we like to make the centerpieces and decorate for that. It was funny because we have a couple of our key clubbers who are in working at the nursing homes. They're like, yeah, they made these cute little snowmen made out of creamer containers. And so we start putting them together, have key clubbers come. And then there's a Special Olympics Christmas party where we go and help pass out things to them and carol. So they are very busy. There's absolutely no fall lull this time of year. And I'm almost looking forward to January already, where we can think of some less things to do.
Thanks so much, Renee. Lots of ideas, and you do sound incredibly busy, as if you meet every week.
We actually, so we've done it where the K-Kids meet the 2nd and the 4th Mondays of the month for meetings. And then so we plan our events around those. So the meetings are basically we do like a ritual of happy change. We either learn a character trait and parliamentary procedure. We have a Ned report for our little mascot, and then it kind of brings us about halfway through the meeting, and then from there we plan events, and then it's the other night. So then the Key Club decided they're going to do the 3rd and the 1st and the 3rd week of the month. So at least at least my Mondays are definitely booked for meetings, which is why I'm happy this is on a Tuesday.
All right, that's great. Anyone else like to share? Oh, Anna.
Our K kids, one of my groups is making shoes for St. Nicholas Day. They're cardboard shoes, and then we color them and cut them out and put them together, and then the senior center fills it with candies for our seniors at their luncheon on December 6th. Tomorrow we're going to make little owls out of pine cones and cotton, and we're actually having these the assisted living facility is coming to the school to work with the kids. So we have about 10 seniors that are coming to the school to do that. And then we make, it's called snowman soup, where they're making bags with hot chocolate, a candy cane, and marshmallows. And then we donate that to one of our homeless shelters in Cleveland, St. Malachy's. So those are and similarly, we're very busy, and I also am looking forward to January.
Can I ask a clarifying question? Did you say that your K kids make cardboard shoes and the seniors fill them? Do you keep
We make the shoes, and then the senior center fills it with chocolates, and then they give it to the seniors at their luncheon on December 6th, which is St. Nicholas Day.
So it's a partnership with the senior center.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, and is that something you've done year after year?
Yes, they actually ask us to do it because we make like 70 of them. So,
Oh my gosh. Okay.
so it's a fun project for the school.
Of course. And
Yes.
then you said that the senior citizens come and visit actually come to the school to visit?
They're coming to the school actually Thursday, and we're going to do a project. It's a little owl that you take a pine cone and fill it with cotton and make it into an owl, and then they're going to take that back to the other residents in the senior housing.
Oh, wow. That's wonderful. Thank you.
Mhm.
Any other stories? Okay. So events, there are a number of events for expressing thanks and gratitude, and these are actually only, a representation of them. Of course, here in North America, we know that Thanksgiving is huge. And you've mentioned, I think, some celebrations connected to that. Dia de Ao de Graça in Brazil is similar to Thanksgiving, where there are, festivals and meal and a harvest-like meal. A number of these, actually, these are examples of holidays that are connected thematically to the annual harvest. Erntedankfest in Germany and Harvest Festival in the UK are in September or October, and they again celebrate the harvest, as well as Crop Over Festival in Barbados. A number of these celebrations have actually festivals, like you talked about for a different holiday. You talked about a parade, but they do have community gatherings, which is important as we talk about what are some opportunities for service. So service that ideas that can be connected to harvest holidays include harvest holidays which have themes like celebrating the bounty of harvests, and Thanksgiving kind of started in that place. Or giving crops, and they incorporate kind of themes of giving crops or giving food to people who need food. And then also expressing gratitude that you have food, giving thanks for that, and also for people. So here are some ideas. Holding a food drive for donations would be something that's pretty popular. But here's some that are not as common. Doing things like interviewing a food bank or a food pantry staff and finding out specifically what they need. And then communicating that with your school, your families, with the community, maybe before a food drive or just separate from that, just kind of doing advocacy and communications for that staff. Harvesting food at a community garden, which would happen probably before October, depending on where you live. Creating a map of local farms and orchards, again, a fall activity, and then sharing that with families in your school or organization to get more people going to and supporting those farms and orchards. Volunteering at a community festival. Community festivals are, I don't know that our kids really know that community festivals are all kind of volunteer driven. So helping them understand the volunteer and community engagement side of it and being a part of that process. And then of course, creating cards or artwork that express gratitude or kindness, as some of the examples that you've shared. For teachers, coaches, school organization staff, or elderly in assisted living facilities or other community members. There are just some ideas that you've already talked about and some others. Of course, during this period of time, there are religious and religious holidays that are observed as religious or sometimes even secular. In North America, some of those, and across the world, some of those most common examples, of course, are Christmas, Hanukkah, and Eid al-Fitr, which is for those who are Muslim. And here are some images, actually, of these holidays. And sorry about the Earth Day one there, but there's a dreidel that is a giving of that represents giving of a game and bonding time, for instance, for Hanukkah, and zakat, which is giving of money for a giving of money, which is mandatory for in the Muslim faith and connected to Eid al-Fitr, a holiday around this time. Service ideas for religious and secular holidays. Again, themes of gift giving, themes of alms or charitable giving, and community and family bonding. So what are some things people can do? Because charitable giving is a big component of these holidays, raising money makes sense, and donating money to causes, particularly those who need food and basic resources are typical, or donating clothes and food, serving food at pantries and community centers, if it's age appropriate and if there's opportunities for that. Volunteering at a community celebration, again, explaining the importance of volunteering, but also being a part of that. And what a wonderful thing to do to be able to have community members from an assisted living facility come to your kids, because your kids may not be able to go to their facility, is really a wonderful way to a wonderful relationship. So that's a great kind of twist, I guess, on that relationship and on service. You're giving those adults something to do that's meaningful and that's relational. Giving gifts to adults to support your school and organization or residents in an assisted living facility, and then giving thoughtful gifts and games for shared family time. And the dreidel represents that in the tradition of Hanukkah. These are not rocket science. Of course, you've talked about a lot of these ideas, but having the kids understand the kind of the background of those, the historical context and the cultural context of these celebrations is an opportunity to deepen the learning. And then there are international events, and we really wanted to talk a little bit about those. Earth Day began as an American celebration of awareness and and action around environmentalism and care for our natural surroundings. But it has become an international event. The Earth Day Network has representation from over 20,000 partner organizations in 190 countries. So it's very much an international event. Earth Day occurs on April 22nd in most countries, including in North America, or on the day of the spring equinox in some countries. If you decide to participate in Earth Day with your clubs, and your project is a cleanup project, we really encourage you to get your stories out there and help your kids see that they belong to a network of doing good. So not just do they belong to the Kiwanis family, but they also belong to, like, there are networks of people out there trying to make the world better. And this is one link to that type of a group. So the National Cleanup Day for Earth Day has a website, and it's actually not national, it's international. There are a lot of groups that tell their story through their site. So you can actually click on this link, and I'm going to show you this real quickly. And you can see that the Great Global Cleanup 2023 registration's already there. So you can actually register and let them know where your event will be and what, who you expect to participate in it. And then they want to see you add event photos, flyers, that type of thing afterwards. So we encourage you to share your stories with us, but also to share your stories with these types of groups.
Are you going to have the PowerPoint or the webinar available for?
Yes, but we'll also send an email. Emails don't always get through to y'all, but we will also send an email with all the links that we've shared here. Yeah, and then to remind you that the webinars are up online on the K-Kids advisor page. And then here are some ideas for Earth Day service. So of course you want to kind of think about what the theme is that the kids want to address. Recycling is really popular, of course. Reusing is a part of recycling, but separate, right? It's a real intentional effort to not put things in a landfill or have to send them to a recycling center. So reusing, cleanup, energy use, like doing energy use audits, or raising awareness about how energy can be, how households can reduce energy. So energy use, education, and then advocacy. So here are some general projects that could be done. Planting a community garden, that's a good time of year in some locations to plant. And in others, I imagine to harvest, but planting a community garden or taking care of a community garden, and it doesn't have to be the school's garden. It could be a local garden if you're close to a local community garden. Creating a recycling program if one doesn't exist in your community or your school or your organization. Educating the community about recycling. I mean, thinking about teaching your students that they have the power to influence others. They can recycle themselves, or they can recycle themselves and influence for other people to recycle. Then they have an exponential effect on the cause they're trying to address. Creating a donation drive for used household items to be given to a shelter or a nonprofit that will use them or will sell them and then use the profits to support their mission. Of course, a beach or park cleanup, and holding a fundraiser that's really environmentally connected, like selling cool reusable water bottles, and then donating the funds to an environmental organization. So that kind of gives them an opportunity to learn about what happens with plastic when you use single-use plastic, share that with the community, raise money, and then help a mission of an organization as well, and learn about that organization. So there are multiple aspects to a project like that. And then the last thing we wanted to share with you is really the biggest international service event that involves youth. It's called Global Youth Service Day. And you may or may not have heard of it. It's been National Youth Service Day was around for decades until it became really obvious that there were a number of organizations, schools, organizations, and individual youth that were participating around the world. So it became Global Youth Service Day maybe 10 years ago, 12 years ago, and it happens in April. And it's actually also, it's Global Youth Service Month from, I think in 2023, it'll be April 14th to May 14th. But this is Global Youth Service Day is a weekend or a couple of days where kids can get involved, share their stories, and know that other kids around the world are making a difference. And there are some resources connected to Global Youth Service Day, and I'm going to talk about those. So here are just a few examples of projects that happened in 2022 on Global Youth Service Day. Kids in Colombia wanted to raise an awareness about life in the ocean. And so they created a baby shower for leatherback sea turtles. It was in Colombia, there's a spawning season that happens around the Gulf around that time. And so they thought it was a great time to raise awareness. In India, kids wanted to support education. And so they gathered books and then distributed books. In Nigeria, there is a camp in the country of people that are Nigerian that are displaced people. And so a group did a fundraising project to raise money for that camp. And that's really addressing basic needs for extreme poverty. In the US, I think it was in Wisconsin, kids wanted to help encourage other kids to join programs and organizations. And we know, research tells us that in healthy youth development, that healthy youth really thrive when they join, when they belong to groups, when they feel a sense of belonging, and when they feel a sense of self-awareness and self-contribution. And so that's what that group wanted to do. And then in the US Virgin Islands, the school had created an edible garden project. And so one of the projects, so it was a long-term commitment, a long project, but one of the things that they did to connect to Global Youth Service Day was they hosted a dig day where others, volunteers could participate and harvest some vegetables and also help grow. So those are just some examples, and I'll show you where I found those. So Global Youth Service Day is just one of the many resources and events that are sponsored by Youth Service America. Youth Service America is a large national and now international organization that focuses strictly on youth service. And so they have a lot of resources, but the biggest thing they do is Global Youth Service Day. And so this site kind of shows you a countdown to the day. It helps you see stories. I'm going to come back to that. It helps you see stories from around the world. And that's the map that I was talking about. The map that I showed you was not interactive. This is. So if you go to the site, you can click on a location, an icon, and it tells you a little bit about that project and the organization that's sponsoring the project. Project's first name, Sean. So Sean Graham is the person who is proposing the project or telling them about it. And sometimes there's no description, sometimes there's a paragraph, sometimes there's like 2 paragraphs explaining what the initiative was about. And this one involves 3D printing water pots for youth to plant chard. So this project actually connects to Earth Day and Global Youth Service Day. But there's all kinds of projects that you can see. Philanthropy in their description, to Youth Service America means it's a fundraising project. And you'll see right here, Project Global Goals. Have any of you heard about the UN Sustainable Development Goals? So a number of years ago, the UN kind of surveyed all of its member countries to determine what are the biggest challenges, what were the biggest challenges going into the 21st century for the world. And of course, poverty is a challenge. Of course, education is a challenge. They honed in on education, primary school education, because primary school education doesn't happen in all countries. Not all kids have access to it. And so they honed in on specific goals. They honed in on specific issues and set goals for the world that government agencies, that nonprofits and NGOs around the world, and that business leaders could help contribute to by putting money and programming and other types of advocacy and other types of resources around them to kind of focus on goals and actually move the marker on those goals. So the Sustainable Development Goals are really important in service learning, and a lot of the national and international service organizations talk about them and try to encourage them. So that's why you'll see Project Global Goals. This is a Sustainable Development Goal 2, and it's related to hunger. So you'll see with each of these, what is the Sustainable Development Goal, or with many of them, what is it related to? And you'll see the location. Like this is in Knoxville, Tennessee. And you'll be able to read about partnerships. So anyway, there's a map here that gives you ideas. If you want lots of ideas, there are some really great ideas in here. And you'll see big projects and small projects as well from around the world. And then I'll show this to you I'll reference this on the next page, but since I'm here, this is a place where you can actually share what your plans are if your club wants to participate in Global Youth Service Day. You input all the information and let them know what you're doing. And if you produce a report after you're done with the activity, you can essentially apply for an award. You can be considered for an award for the work that you've done. So I think the awards are $250 or $500. Okay. Sorry. Get back on track here. Okay, so that's where I found the examples, was on that site, on that map. So how do you get ready if you want to participate in Global Youth Service Day 2023? Here is an appeal to you, and would encourage you to spread this to the other clubs, to all the clubs you're involved with. Like Anna, you have connections to multiple clubs. Youth Service America is trying to increase youth involvement in service by 50% by 2026. They've asked all of the major youth organizations to be involved in that and to spread the word to their members. And so I'm showing you Global Youth Service Day to encourage you to do a project and share the project, because by you sharing, you increase their numbers. It's a really lofty goal. It's a great goal. And we at Kiwanis, of course, believe in service and engagement and increasing it. So basically there are 3 steps to being involved: planning your project. And Kiwanis provides great resources. If you use the idea toolkit for service, great resources to planning projects. And a lot of you, and you have all planned service projects with your members. What Global Youth Service Day is about is youth-driven service. So the youth need to be planning the projects, which is what we stand for too. So, and then posting your project on this site in this form, and then promoting your project. They have tons of resources on their site once you've posted it that you have access to, that help you tell the story and help you print out flyers for your events and all kinds of things. So to share your project, you visit that address and that URL, and we will send that as well in our email to you, and it will be a part of the this presentation that we post. So after all of that, you all do service, service. One of the things that Youth Service America promotes, and we have, included in the idea toolkit in our steps of service, is that you kind of assess impact. Part of assessing impact and part of really having greater impact is creating always the opportunity for your kids to do intentional reflection, building intentional reflection at the end of service. And you can actually do reflection throughout service. So common ways to reflect in general are discussion, journaling, and artwork. And there are creative ways to do all of those things. And the types of questions that kids would explore and, starts with, what did they learn about themselves? Because our kids gain a lot of skills. They gain knowledge about their community, they gain knowledge about each other, they gain knowledge about what it is to lead, both kind of soft skills like empathy, as well as some hard skills like creating a budget while you're planning. And I'm good at budgeting, or I'm not good at budgeting, but boy, I'm good at marketing. I'm really good at telling the story and getting up and speaking about what we're going to be doing. So what did they learn about themselves? How did it make them feel to serve or to give? How did they think others felt when they received their gift? Sometimes they have connection to those that they give to, and a lot of times they don't necessarily have those connections. So the more connection they can have, logistically, if it makes sense, the more they'll get a sense of what another is feeling. So that's how empathy is built. What did they learn about, if it's connected to a holiday or a festival or some other type of event, what did they learn about it? Because learning is always important, part of the process. Did they gain an understanding of the holiday or the event, or a community that celebrates it? And then what did they learn about their community? Of course, because we always want to get back to that. What did they learn about their community and its needs and its members? So we just encourage reflection. So those are kind of the general holidays that you may or may not celebrate. These are just examples. There's so many out there in the Kiwanis world, international world, but we wanted to, just to stop and reflect and recognize that we're going into a season that's pretty heavy in celebrations and in these messages of gratitude and these messages of giving. And what a great opportunity. And from what you've shared, you're doing an awful lot of service during this time that is all about the things that we're talking about. So thank you. Does anyone have any questions or any other ideas you want to share, or need for any resources that you can think of? Well, I think that we're wrapped up then. I want to thank you for joining us. Lisa? Anything to say? We just want to
Oh,
say good
No,
night.
well, yeah, no, just that, yeah, it made me think about how we can encourage, other than our, I guess, sharing this with our K-Kids clubs, that they'll perhaps participate in those awards, the Global Youth Service Day Awards. Those are fabulous. It's just wonderful. So,
Thank you. Yes, and we'll share more information in our email about Global Youth Service Day and those same connections.
okay.
All right. Thank you all. Hope you have a good night.
Thanks for participating, everybody.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you.